Alright, back again. What up, tourists? It's the tour guide back on the floor. I'm cozy and I don't feel like standing up anymore, so this is where we're going to be. Get myself a new chair and desk. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Planet Hulk again. In the previous episode, Hulk was dropped onto Sakaar. He encounters a black bug named Meek. He makes his gladiatorial debut in the Crown City Coliseum, and he takes on the Red King and disrespects him by scarring him. In the process, he and his companion is sent off to the mall, where he is presumably going to be sent there to die by the Red King, who has low expectations on him living past that. Cue in part 2 of this arc called Exile. We start off at the dead of night at a campgrounds for what will be revealed to be a group of rebels plotting out their next move to just overthrow the king. And they catch wind of the Hulk coming to Planet Sakaar. And normally they wouldn't bat an eye at anybody that the Red King fights. They just think it's a death sentence. He comes into his ornate armor and then handles you himself. Until they find out that the Hulk was able to strike a blow to him back. And between that and his massive strength and skill during his first arena event, gives them high hopes that the Hulk might be the key to saving Sakaar from the Red King. Back to the mall. It's off with a robotic gladiator trying to contact the rest of the teams that were sent out, but it seems like they're dead. As he's being chased down by this lava-like creature, and just before he's going to be melted into scrap, Hulk immediately jumps in and saves him, but not without taking some damage in the process. Much to the Red King's disappointment, Hulk's thriving in this school. He's getting ready for the next fight. This is what he's made to do. As soon as he's done handling this creature, he went their trainer, Primus Band, a former veteran of the Coliseum. He earned his rights as a citizen, won 4 uncontested seasons of the Coliseum, so he knows what he's doing. Listen to him. He said they will do just fine. When he approaches the Hulk, he immediately pretty much tells him to heal. Like, bend on one knee and kneel. Hulk is just like a broken record. He says, I'm starting to get tired of people telling me that. He takes Primus Band, hitting him with a shock collar-like device called the Obedience Disc to electrocute him into submission. And the robot lets us know with some exposition: do not resist the disc. If given enough time, resist long enough, it will fry your brains. And the Hulk just rolls with it, not knowing what it might do to someone like him. Primus Band comes up and tells them the news. He introduces himself as their main trainer, and that the next trial ahead will be that they will all be pitted at a 22-man battle royale. And the battle royale will only end with only 7 people remain. There is this one man who introduces himself as some type of lower-class congressman named Ronan Kaifi, who tries to plead for his innocence, that he doesn't belong there, and Primus Band doesn't really care much for it, just disintegrates him. And pretty much just waiting for directions from there on out. Back to the Coliseum, we enter the battle royale. Hulk focuses primarily towards this rock-like creature who was introduced as Korg. He's part of a species known as the Cronins. They've had previous interactions in Marvel Comics. In fact, he will actually reveal that he's been tied to another character that we've met. It comes to a point where Korg is getting a couple of decent hits in the upper hand on Hulk. Meek notices Hulk is in trouble, so he tries to help him out. As he's going to help him out, another member of Korg's team is about to charge at Meek. But just before he's about to make the final blow, 2 pincers go through this Imperial man and it kills him, cueing 6 members of the species called the Brood. Now, the Brood is essentially, the best way I can describe it to you, tourists, Marvel's answer to the Xenomorphs from the Alien series. They padded out the last few spots in the 22-man battle royale, which is actually something that Meek mentioned earlier on, that they were missing a couple people. They came in as a surprise. In short notice, they would be down to 7 people. Primus Band will call off the fight and says, the survivors, you did well. Let's sleep well and get ready for tomorrow. Cut to later that night when they're in their cells. The 7 contestants, including Hulk himself, just like they are, just waiting for somebody to break the ice. He's trying to tamper with the device, and electricity almost hits your girl that's there. And the last remaining Brood, she will be later known as No Name, to that he's alone. Like everybody else has been saying the same thing, that he's pretty much high with, and he has nobody left because she can pretty much smell it off him. But Meek, can smell it off her too, that yeah, you're not too far from me. You had your 5 sisters, they're gone now, disconnected from your hive. And just before she was ready to lay in and attack Meek, Korg's the one to break up the fight. And he's the one to center everybody else and let them know that whatever comes next, they gotta stick together. So he tries to get everybody to introduce themselves and what they bring to this group. Meek's the first to pitch in. Then one of the Imperial soldiers that survived, his name is Lavinsky. He was a close friend to the man that got disintegrated. And the girl next to him is the daughter of Ronan, who died before the Battle Royale, LOA. Young, impressionable, but open to learn. And then on top of that, we have this gray-skinned fella he's from the same race of people as Kyrie Oldstrong. He will later be known as a man named Heroin the Shamed. All the stories will be explained at least by the next issue or 2. But right now we're just trying to get names. And from there, Korg is just assessing the situation, letting everybody know, okay, this is a good start. Hulk's the only one that's pessimistic. If nothing else, then not just from this very little experience being on Scar, but just from being in Marvel Comics. Like, sure, we're allies right now. We're on the same side right now. It's not going to last forever. It's probably not going to matter how long we all last together. Eventually, they're going to give us a reason to turn on each other. And Korg shut us down immediately, saying, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. And with no other response to hit back to Korg, Hulk just goes back to sleep and tells him to wake him up when the fighting starts. Immediately the next morning, we go straight to the next battle, and they're waiting for whatever they're looking at in the lava to come out. So we're looking at lava. Korg, being the only person willing to step up and bark orders, is our de facto leader, our commander-in-chief. And Korg is pretty much saying whatever's in there, it looks tough, it looks durable, be ready to fight. And he stops mid-sentence when he notices who emerges from the lava. And it's 3 more members of his people, the Cronins, one of which being his brother, Margus, who he believed up until their arrival to Scar that he was dead. So he tries to reach out to Margus. Margus immediately attacks him, and that gives the rest of the squad the go-ahead to just fight him. And they're losing ground quick. Nobody's dying yet, but they're struggling because Korg and the Cronins are really rock-like people. They're pretty much like the Thing if they were aliens. But aside from Hulk, he's the only heavy hitter that they got, and because of his brother, he's hesitating to fight back. How we mentioned before, they have obedience as well, and they resisted it to the point where their brains were fried. They're brain dead. They're only going off on instinct at this point. And Meek and LOA and Lavin they're trying so hard to get back on board, and he just relents and surrenders and gives up to the ground, going, I can't fight my brothers. And Hulk is not hearing none of that. As soon as he hears that makes him even more angrier. He says, like, hell you will. She grabs Korg and swings him so hard that he shatters one of his members, and it probably was Marcus. And it's a really sad scene. It's not funny. It's a really sad scene where after he smashed Hulk says, oh, I figured since they came out the lava, they'd be softer, so they'd be easier to hit. And he's still mid-talk trying to say, all right, I'll crack you crack my smashing. And Korg is just holding the ashes or the dust bits of his brother. Now, any normal person will flip their top, but no, Korg immediately shakes out of it in the comics, and then is fighting back to back with Hulk, and just drops a prayer to whatever high being they believe in, the Cronins, and that's just that. Cronin had to kill his people and his brother. Kill his brother. We pan later on, they get more proper armor. They're wearing heads and Roman-like feathers. Meek makes us offhand comments of, why don't we get feathers like him and the no-named brood, because they're like insects. And then No Man says, feathers are for soft heads, and it makes them crack up a little bit. They're being transported to the next event. As they're being transported, Korg is still holding on to the dust that he had of his brother, just to make like small burial rites for him. And Lab is trying to comfort him, telling him that there was nothing that they could have done beyond that. Look on to one of the pleasure cruises, like one of the tour tour ships that's just there to watch them take on whatever threat they're going on next. At first, because they were going through the farms, LOA was the first to point out or think that they were there to kill the farmers. But really, it's revealed that they were there to deal with these machine-like sentient beings known as the Wilderbots, which are pretty much like the wildlife, like robotic wildlife that's outside of the Coliseum. One of which is called an egg breaker, aptly named because they are known for killing larvae of the natives that come by his path. So he really likes eating people that look like meat. Maybe no name, but aside from the brood that we saw, how much do we see? But they take them out in short work. They're rewarded with a night of pleasure, succor, and women. That's whoever's into that. Cut over to the Imperial Castle or wherever Red King comes from, and he's just disregarding the whole thing. He kind of put the Hulk to the back of his mind. Like, regardless whether he lived or died in the mall, doesn't matter. Gaira is the one that keeps trying to pitch the fact that you need to keep an eye on the Hulk. Like, he's getting a lot of notoriety very quickly, and he's exceeding expectations throughout the Coliseum. You need to at least consider that he might be a threat. And then Red King just pretty much blows him up and says, listen, that's what I got you for. He's eventually gonna die. I mean, listen, it's a big giant muscle-bound brute. You get a dime a dozen going through the Great Portal. And just before Kyra the Ultron was going to pitch for more, or trying to speak her keys more, an explosion happens in the background. And the rebels that were scoping out the Hulk eventually come to one of the pleasure cruises that these gladiators are in, ready to liberate them, and then ask for them to join their cause. Anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm tired. It's dead at night, and thanks for tuning in, wherever you guys are when this post. Like, comment, subscribe, and the links to the description below. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.